Hey y'all, I'm Lucy from Paper Glitter Glue, and today is the first day of the Whimsical Fairy House Challenge, where over the next 12 days we'll go through how to make different fairy houses out of paper or cardboard. Um, and these are just so cool and so fun. Little kids love them. They love to get them. They love to make them with you. So I hope you'll join us for the whole 12 days. The patterns are free on my website, paperglitterglue.com. All you have to do is subscribe and you'll find them in my library. The one exception is that my friend Jackie of acottageintheforest.com has one design. You'll have to go to her website to get that design. But she just does beautiful little houses. So you won't regret subscribing to her newsletter to get her file because it's so cute. All right, and then there will be a bonus pack which has all 12 of these patterns plus bonus patterns, extra ways you could decorate the houses, a different shape, an exclusive one from Jackie called the Forest Fairy Bakery. It's so cute. All right, so first I wanted to start off with the materials that you can use. I like cardboard. Cardboard is my favorite. This is relatively thin cardboard called 22-point cardboard as it's sold on Amazon. And you can see it's pretty flexible. I think it may be a little bit more sturdy than poster board. You can use poster board, cereal box cardboard, but that's my favorite material because it makes really sturdy little houses. This one's made out of cardboard and it's just very sturdy. But most people, especially starting out, start off with cardstock. So for the base of the house, I like to use a heavier cardstock, one 10-pound cardstock. And that's as sold in the US. I don't remember how many GSMs it is, but it's one 10-pound cardstock. And then for things that require more flexibility, like making the top of a little cone house, 65-pound cardstock works well. And it also, and you can see, it's just much more flexible. And it also works well for like the flowers and stuff. I've also used this is a snowflake. Knocking everything over. The snowflake fairy house. And the bottom has debossed wood grain pattern on it, and it's made out of just foil paper, which is 65-pound, and then glitter paper on the top and for the snowflakes. It's really fun too. And so that is foil cardstock, glitter cardstock, and then really, I'll tell you, another one of my favorites. This is a mixed media, but I also use a lot of watercolor paper because it takes paint so well. And I like to paint my houses if I can. Paint, or I use spray stain. I used a distress spray stain for this roof. And this one, oh, I love this one. This is the pink dogwood. And I painted each petal using just distress paints. But you can use cardstock. It works fine. I use my Cricut. My Cricut's in front of me. I use my Cricut to cut out all of my patterns. You can cut them by hand, but little details like little flowers and stuff can be kind of challenging. But you could use like a paper punch, or you could like buy some designs. But basically, I use my cutting machine. Or you could like just kind of fold up some paper and do some flower shapes and just cut them out by hand. That works too, but I do use my machine. I have sized most of my designs to fit the Cricut Joy. So let me show you real quick. So this fairy house, I'm calling this like the cone-shaped fairy house. That one has been resized. There is a version for the Cricut Joy, and the other version works well on all the other Cricuts, the Cricut Joy Extra, the Explore, any of the Explorers, any of the Makers. And then this one is a hexagon shape, and I resized it also for the Joy. So those two you can make with the Joy. I did not resize this one because I just couldn't make it short enough. I'd lose all the space on the front, so I did not resize this one. You could, but then you have to resize the windows and everything too. But almost everything works with the Cricut Joy. Let's see, I talked about the paints. I like the color palette and the way distress paints go on. They're kind of translucent. I mentioned stains. This one is 4-leaf clovers, and I did spray stain. I did this mowed lawn sprayed stain, and I just love kind of the dimension it gives and sort of some variability too. You know, things in nature are not all exactly the same shade, you know, throughout. And I did use my debossing tool on some of them to make the wood grain pattern, but you could draw it. Let me see one that's got the pattern drawn. On this daisy house, the pattern is just drawn on the bark, or you can do, you know, my favorite technique, which is using paper mache and actually kind of building up layers like bark and then painting it. That's my real favorite, but yep, it does take time. So I think that's it. Oh, glues. I use, these are my two favorite glues. You can actually use any glue you want, any white glue you want. But I like these because they are easy to control and they really adhere well. And I really like this tip. But if you have another glue that you like, and you'll just need a small tip to apply some of the small details. The patterns are available as printed patterns and SVG, so for cutting machines. And oh, I do use a scoring tool for scoring and mats. Okay, so here I have a confession. For my mats, I don't think it matters which one because all of mine are so old that I have to tape my paper on. So anyway, so you can use the light grip, you know, if they're not too sticky. The light grip, the standard grip, the heavy duty grip. But yeah, so I'd use my Cricut mats. I think that's it. So let's get started. First, I'm going to show you how the pattern works in Cricut Design Space if that's what you use. If not, just skip that part and it goes straight to the construction of the first two houses, the cone-shaped house and the hexagon house. And then tomorrow we'll do the little cottage, and then we'll start working with some flowers and doing some special stuff on day 3. So today is Sunday. Tomorrow, Monday, you'll get the cottage, and then we'll start getting into some flowers and stuff on Tuesday. Okay, I hope you have a good time with us. Alrighty, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, this is Lucy of the website paperglitterglue.com, and I'm going to show you how to make some fairy houses. And I'm going to start with a basic circular fairy house shape. So I cut mine with my Cricut. I'm going to use a Cricut Maker for this demonstration. And I'm on the home screen. I've pulled up Cricut Design Space on my laptop computer, and we're going to make a new project. Remember, this is the home screen. And I'm clicking New Project, this green button in the upper right-hand corner. And this is the canvas, the regular canvas, and I'm going to click, we've already done New Project, so now I'm going to go down here to the lower left-hand corner and click Upload. And then I'm going to go to this button here, Upload Image, and that's brings me to the Browse button, which means that I'm going to look for it on my computer. So I'm clicking the green Browse button in the middle. And this is day number 1 for our Fairy House Challenge. And I'm going to use the basic circular fairy house. So I clicked on it and open. I'm using a Mac. I don't know how different it is if you're on a Windows machine. This is indeed the design I want. And I'm going to click Upload in the lower right-hand corner, this green button down here, Upload. And then I'm going to select it. So it's right here. It's of the recent uploads. This is the one I want, and I can tell that it's selected because it's got a little green line around it, kind of a green rectangle. Now I'm going to go back over to Add to Canvas in the lower right-hand corner, this button here, Add to Canvas, and there is my file. Now I always like to see the entire file, so I reduce it on the size of the screen. You can see the scale here, that's 0, and it goes, what's visible now goes to over 12 inches. So I'm going to reduce the size on the screen, not the actual size of the design. And that is the entire design. So now that, and I can see it now, you can see the way it appears on the screen shows it from 0 to 24 inches. That doesn't mean it's how big it is. That's just showing the entire file. So I'm going to the Layers panel. This is the Layers panel. Probably one of the more important panels on your Cricut Design Space screen. And I'm going to click this Group and Ungroup button. When everything's grouped, it's the Ungroup button. And when it's ungrouped, then it's the Group button. So I'm going to click on it. And now you can see that it shows the ungroup symbol. So let's look. Yes, and I can click on each individual piece without moving the entire design. This is my 1-inch scale. I always include that just to make it easier so you can, make sure it uploads at the scale that it was designed for. I'm going to delete it. I don't need that, so I can click this trash icon in the Layers panel, up here on the Layers panel. And now, let's pick out which designs we want to use. There are 3 different designs for the roof. My favorite is this leafy design. I really like this leaf edge design. So what I'm going to do is hide the things I'm not going to use. For example, this is a circular base. I don't really need that for now. And this is the little cap that helps hold the top on the fairy house. So we can use that. I'm going to save the windows and cut them out when I cut out whatever decoration I'm going to put on the fairy house. So I'm not using that right now, so I'm going to move that over here. And then this one of the funky doors. I just really love this shaped door, so I'm going to move that to the kind of almost the reject pile. And just so it's not confusing for me, I'm going to click them all, group them, and I'm going to hide them because I know I'm not going to cut them out at this moment. Now you have 2 choices for the base. This is just the plain structure of the base, and this one has a drawn bark pattern, kind of a wood grain pattern. For the demonstration, I'm going to use the wood grain one. So I'm not going to use this pattern, and I'm simply going to hide it. So I don't need to group it with anything. I mean, I could, but I'm just going to hide it. So I'm clicking the little eye icon, and it hides it. So these are the pieces I'm going to use for the circular fairy house shape. There is only one score line in this pattern, and that is on the little, it's like the little rim that forms the cap. And it really, when I make the house, the little fairy house, you will see how this helps. So I'm going to click on it. I've chosen this section, and I can see it in the Layers panel, and I'm going to click the down arrow. Click this and turn it into a down arrow. Moving it up a little bit. So these are the 2 pieces for this support strip, and this is actually a score line. So whenever you see a single line like that, usually on my designs it's a score line. And one way you can tell is this is a little color icon, or a little color block. The square tells you the color that it's drawn in. Even though it doesn't show up as red on the design, I drew those lines in red, and that's a clue that it's a score line. I always draw my score lines in red. So this is the operations menu that tells Cricut what to do with a particular piece. So I'm going to click on the down arrow under the operations menu, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to click score. When you click score, it turns into a dashed line. You can see that it's a dashed line. The other thing about it is it's important to combine the score line with the piece that it belongs to, so you have to attach it. So you can either select them both here on your canvas, or you can select them both in the layers panel, under the layers panel, and then you go to the bottom of the layers panel and click attach. And now our Cricut knows that every single time it cuts this out, the score line belongs there. All right, so we need to do the same kind of thing to draw the bark pattern. So I've selected this piece here, or you could select it on this area. I'm clicking this so I get a down arrow, and there are two pieces here. So this is the drawn part. See, it's not attached at this. When I've just selected it by itself, it's not attached. I'm going to click Command Z so that it lines up again. I love Command Z. That means undo whatever you did. So I'm going back to the layers panel, clicking on just the bark pattern. I did draw these pieces in black, so that square is correct, and it's also a clue I didn't say to score it. So we go back to the operations menu, scroll down, and I'm going to use a pen to draw this. So I'll put a pen in my maker so I know to draw this. But just like we did with the score lines, we have to attach these drawn lines to our piece. So if you go back over to the layers panel, you can see that it noted that this is to be drawn, and we are going to attach it. So we're going to the bottom of the layers panel where this little paperclip attach symbol. Click that, and now my Cricut knows to draw this piece on my cardstock. Now, if I was painting it, I wouldn't use the drawn function, because I'm going to paint try to paint it to make it mimic bark. But if I just want to draw the pattern on the outside, this is what I do. All right, the other little thing I want to show you is, and I'm actually going to make the screen bigger so you can see it better. One more time. I included two little lines to be cut out on the rooftop, on the cone-shaped rooftop. And these are not score lines. They're already attached to the piece. All this means is that's a guide for when you glue it together, you know that this is the line to apply the glue to. And it's really important that you don't fold it. If you make a score line here, then instead of having a cone shape, it makes more of a teardrop shape. So don't score along this, and I'll show you some tricks on how to curve the cone so that it makes a really nice shape. All right, I'm going to reduce again just so we see our three pieces. And I don't believe all of these will fit on one piece of cardstock. You can, however, if you want to make more than one at a time, you can duplicate this, and two of these will fit on one 8.5 by 11 cardstock. There's another little trick you can do, and I use this often, is I pick one of the shapes. Gotta move something. So let's pick a rectangle. We've got a rectangle, and I'm going to unlock it. I'm going to make it the size of my cardstock so I can test and see how things fit together. So let's make it 10.5 inches wide, and I'm going to make it 8.25. That gives me a little bit of a border for my Cricut. So I know, because whenever you put down a sheet of paper or cardstock, Cricut always has a 1/4 inch border around the edge. So the other thing is I want this to go in the back because I'm kind of testing how my parts fit. So I'm going to go to Arrange, Send to Back. And so that'll be the lowest piece on the screen, and I can put these on top. And you can see that 2 pieces fit easily on one sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. Now let's test and see if we can get 2 of these leafy things, these leafy rooftops. So let's see if we can do that. There's one. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to turn it a little more. Now that I've got this one turned, I'm going to see if I can make another one fit. I think 2 will fit, but just barely. Move it over a little bit more. So I moved it just slightly. So 2 will fit on one sheet of cardstock. So now that I don't need this, I'm just going to hide it. And if I do, some other pieces, I've still got it in my file. So I'm hiding my rectangle. Now I'm going to attach these 2 because I've got them precisely arranged so that they will fit on one sheet of cardstock. So I'm going to attach them using the Layers panel, this little paper clip, attach. Now I'll show you another trick. This really helps me too. I almost always have to run my paper or cardboard through the Cricut more than once. So one way to kind of save time, instead of having to get up and check and see if it does check again, I know from using my Cricut over and over and over that 3 copies will work. So I'm going to duplicate it. I click the duplicate button, this little plus button here under the Layers panel. I'm going to click it again. And now if I align these perfectly on top of each other, I'll align it vertically and horizontally. So I lined this left and lined the bottom, and they're perfectly aligned. Now I select all of them. You see it's 3 different pieces, and I attach them. And now Cricut will cut over that 3 times, and I know that it'll work. I'm going to do the same thing with my 2, the body pieces. That is 8.5 by 7, just over 7. So I know it'll fit on an 11. Well, here, we'll bring the square back. We'll bring back our rectangle. So I know it'll fit easily on my cardstock. So I'm going to hide the the rectangle again. I'm selecting both of these. I'm attaching them, and I'm going to duplicate these 3 times. That also means the pen will draw it 3 times. So I don't think that'll be too much. I really think it'll probably help and make the lines for the bark more prominent. So I'm selecting all 3 of my, the body of the fairy house. I'm going to align them here, line left, line at the bottom, vertically and horizontally. All 3 of them are selected. We know that because they're in green here. And we're going to attach, and we can make those. And we can do the same thing with our pieces, our little cap piece. So all 3 of these will cut 3 times, and I'll be happy with the result. Okay, the other thing is, so if you want to go to Make It gives you a choice of saving or don't save. I always mess with my files and do stuff to them, so I don't usually save, but you will want to because you don't want to be uploading each time. So you can save it as basic, circular, fairy house, whatever. And now we go to the Make It screen. So this is first the brown, the body, and then it will cut the leaf part. And I usually move them just a little bit away from the edge, partly because I tape everything down and I don't want to cut the tape. and then it will do, so we got those two, there should be three, and then the little cap. So I'm making this version out of cardstock, so I'm going to click continue. Now I select my Cricut device. This pattern will work on all of them except for the joy. The body will work on the joy, but the roof won't. So I made a specific Cricut joy pattern for you for this house. All right, so now my maker and base material, I usually use a heavier cardstock, especially for the bottom of the house. It makes it stronger. So let's click heavy cardstock. And the other thing it will tell me to do is to put a pen. So I'm going to put a pen in the where I usually put the scoring stylus. So I'll do that, and then we'll cut it out. I'll push the little blinking C button that's on my computer, on my Cricut, and we'll cut it out. And I'll do the same for the other pieces. So that's the basic circular fairy house with the little cone top. We'll do the hexagonal fairy house next. Now let's do the hexagon house, fairy house in Design Space. Design Space just updated over the past couple of days, so it looks a little bit different. So it's good that I'm showing you this now. All right, we're going to click New Project, the green button in the upper right-hand corner. Upload image. See, it looks just a little bit different than it used to. Upload image. Drag file here or browse. Since I'm on my laptop, I'm going to browse and trying to find the right pattern. The hexagon fairy shape. Open, and this is my file. So I'm going to click continue. That's the green button in the lower right hand side. Image details, if you want to add extra things, put it on into one of your collections, you can do that. This is new. Now I'm using the upload button in the lower right hand corner. Upload. And here's my file. I'm going to shrink it down so I can view the entire thing on my screen. Not actually shrink it, just shrink the view. Okay, now I can see all the pieces for the hexagon fairy house. I'm going to ungroup. Remember, we're in the layers panel on the right. Going to this ungroup icon. And now let's see if we've got all our pieces. This is the roof. I love this steep little roof on the hexagon. The Cricut Joy version is much shorter, so that it'll work on a Cricut Joy. So there are two versions for that. So I'm going to click the score lines. That's the next thing I'm going to do. Click the score lines and then go over here to the left side under the operations menu. I notice it's red, reassuring to me that it is my score line. This is a set of score lines. I'm going to choose score under the operations menu, and now I'm going to go and click on the entire piece and attach it. I have to do the same thing for the support strip for the little cap that holds the roof on. So I'm going to open that up and just select these lines. There, I've just selected the lines, and you see that the color bar is red, the little color square is red. Under the operations menu, I'm going to do the down button and go to score, then go back over to the layers panel and attach. And the same thing with the, I have to do the same thing with the base. Okay, but remember, I've got these drawn lines. If you want to draw bark on your cardstock, then you have to select the bark, just that part. It looks like it's all black. That's because I actually use black ink to draw it. So now let's scroll down, and we're going to do pen. And then I still have score lines. Remember, it's a hexagon, so I've got a set of score lines to turn it into a six-sided structure. So I'm going to select, basically, here's the body, and then these are the score lines. Just these lines right here. I'm under the layers panel. This six set of lines. So I'm going back to the operations menu, clicking score, and then I'm going to attach the score lines to the body. But I also have to attach the, it did it at the same time. I have to attach the drawing to the body piece as well. I forgot to delete my 1-inch square. I don't need that. And then basically we cut it out the same way that we did the circular fairy house structure. All right, so That is how to set it up in Cricut Design Space if that is the cutting machine you're using. Next, we'll actually get to what I consider the fun part, construction.